Stay safe, family. It's been a little bit of a break, but that's okay because we are back and better than ever. Today's episode is episode 14. It's going to be awesome. I have a really special guest today. I have Cam Holmes. Hello, Cam. How you feeling?
Feeling a little nervous, more excited.
There you go. Very good. Well, yeah, Cam is one of my first guests that I don't know. Like, we went to high school together, and we're friends, but we're not, like, homies or, like, we don't know each other very, very well. So it's been cool to just sit here and talk to him and learn a little bit about him because I'm learning as you guys are learning, which is cool. So thanks for coming, Cam. Excited. We are going to go over a lot of different things, but we're just going to have some honest conversation, and Cam's story and Cam's wisdom is going to be empowering to you guys, and it's going to be helpful to you guys, so make sure you listen in. But yeah, so like I said, how we kind of know each other is we went to high school together, and not middle school, right? Just high school.
No.
Just high school together, and had like mutual friend groups. And then after college, Cam will tell you a little bit about that. But then we've kind of just randomly seen each other, and then I saw him start to post a little bit about encouraging things and journaling and all these great tools and stuff that he was using to better himself. So I reached out to him, and he was down. So he's an ATL boy, but not a red flag ATL boy. He's a nice one. But yeah, that's kind of how we know each other. And today's, if there was like a central theme, I feel like it'd be about bettering yourself and having like a creative mindset and a healthy, well-rounded lifestyle all around. That'd probably be like the main overarching things, but we'll talk about a bunch of little stuff in between. But to get us started, Cam, will you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, who is Cam? How'd you grow up? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So I grew up in Beaufort, Georgia, and my parents kind of split early. So I grew up playing a lot of sports, so like football and baseball. And I did all the sports kind of in Beaufort and like North Gwinnett area, and then did school up in Flowery Branch, middle school.
Falcons.
Yeah, go Falcons. So yeah, where was I? I ended up going to Da Vinci Academy. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I started figuring out like I really like creative stuff. So I kind of got certified in like Photoshop and Illustrator pretty early, like in 7th grade, which is kind of like crazy. And kind of just ran with that. Went to high school, kind of met, Bailey, and kind of had my own friend group, and just kind of, I don't know, played football and baseball, and started kind of a t-shirt brand. Do you remember Traveler at all?
I do.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it came time to apply to college, and I grew up kind of an big Auburn fan, and they kind of had a really good design program. So I applied there as a graphic designer, and then decided, I toured it and was like, I already feel like I know graphic design, so I'm going to do something else. So I did something called industrial design, which is like physical product design. So it's anything from like car interiors to like cups to chairs, like anything. And I kind of, do I just keep going?
No, yeah, you're good.
And
I'm just listening because I literally am learning as you're talking.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that up until my junior year, and I kind of like lost my passion for it. It's a lot of like sketching and like CAD work, and it just wasn't for me. So I kind of got like a little bit stressed out, didn't really know like what I wanted to do. Kind of had like a quarter life crisis there.
Which I didn't know was a thing until last night.
I didn't either until someone mentioned it, like, are you okay? Like,
then Cam's like, oh, this is what a quarter life crisis is.
So yeah, I kind of changed my career path to something called UX, which is user experience. So it's more like web design, app design, like any kind of digital experience versus physical. Cool. So yeah, then I applied to grad school because I realized I kind of needed a little bit more like portfolio projects in that realm. And I applied. It was in January, and the deadlines were like a month away, and like I just made the decision, and like usually you have to take something called a GRE to get into grad school, but I had like the COVID skip pass, so they weren't accepting it. So I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, like at least I won't have to like do all this like testing.
So some good came from COVID.
Yeah. So I applied to UT or Texas in Austin and Georgia Tech, and I kind of just like wung it, and there's like an essay and like whole application process. I ended up getting back from Texas first, and I got in. And I was kind of like stressed out, like, because I've never like lived anywhere else but Georgia or Atlanta. But I thought it would be like a good experience maybe to live in a different city.
Yeah,
And
Texas
like,
is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I got a letter back from Georgia Tech, which is like the one I really wanted to do. And they put me on hold. And it was just like gut wrenching. Yeah. Who are they?
Really? Georgia, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, and then I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to Texas, like trying to figure out like who I'm gonna live with. Like my roommate was gonna work there, so I was gonna potentially live with him. Yeah, so my mindset was like fully pointed towards Texas, and then like probably 2 weeks from graduation, like I randomly got this letter or this email, and it was from Georgia Tech. I was like, oh, that's weird. And someone like decided not to go, and they opened my spot back up. And I was like, it was just like a crazy experience, and I was like all in on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I decided to go to Georgia Tech. Got an internship over the summer doing a little bit of like the product design stuff. And yeah, I did 2 semesters.
Like present day, so you did.
Yes,
2
I did
semesters?
2 semesters, and now I am doing another internship now. But it's kind of where we are now.
Up till now, so good. Well, there's a lot that you talked about in that. One thing that I think, this is just like a random funny thing. COVID helped me out really big once because I got a speeding ticket in Alabama coming back from the beach, and I lost the ticket. I didn't know like when my court date was or anything, and then I kind of forgot about it. I was just like, oh, you know, it'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't think about it, and then I randomly remembered, oh my gosh, I have a really expensive ticket, and I called, and I missed my court date by like 9 days, and I said, oh my gosh, is there a warrant out for my arrest? Like freaking out, and then the lady let me know that there's a COVID grace period with travel, so it's like you have, which this is not, don't not pay your tickets, people, but for me it worked out because I literally could have gotten in big trouble, but there's a grace period, so I went online and paid it, and then it helped me out. So whenever you said that, I was like,
I actually have
COVID
a funny story
something.
about not paying your ticket. So like my roommate had kind of a similar situation, and it was a speeding ticket, and he ended up not like going to court or paying for it. So like one like Saturday morning, like at 7 a.m., like we were kind of out, like, you know, slept in a little bit, and like one of my like neighbors came running into my room and was like, yo, there's like cops at your door, like you guys need to get up and like stop like screwing with us, like there's no way there's cops, you know, at the door. And sure enough, like I get up finally, because like I lived in a house with like 5 people, and everyone was like in the living room, and we're like, what's going on? Like,
What'd you do? Literally.
What happened last night? And then they had a warrant out for my roommate's for my roommate because he didn't like pay a ticket.
Oh,
so the
my
cops literally
gosh.
stood at like the front door, and
So did he get to pay right there? Or he had to go to jail.
so like he came downstairs like in his boxers, like because he didn't believe like my friend like that there was cops at the door,
Oh my
like trying to arrest my
gosh.
like roommate, and like he like is like a goody too, like he would never do anything like criminal.
Yeah.
And they like made him like get dressed in front of them, like in our living room.
Like he was
They
hardcore.
put him in cuffs, like walked him
Oh
out.
my gosh.
They walked him out to like
That
the
could
cop.
have been me. Imagine me. I would be like bawling and crying.
Yeah, and they walked out to the cop car, and we just thought it was so funny, and like,
It's probably funny
They
now,
took
but
him to
it
the
was not
station.
funny then. Oh my goodness.
yeah, they took him to the station, and like, just the way like that system works, we like, my roommate's like freaking out, like we gotta go get Boyd, like he's in jail, like come on.
He's in jail.
And he was in there for like 4 hours.
Oh wow.
And he like.
Did
Yeah.
jail change him? Is he different now?
Yeah, completely different. Like you got a face
piercing.
tattoo.
Yeah, literally. That's so funny. So yeah, that COVID did not help him in that situation.
Y'all could have just left him in there, dude. Like,
We're like,
you could leave him in there.
Well, yeah, there was like
Mess
a
with it.
bail and everything, and like we called his parents, and they were freaking out.
oh
Like,
my gosh.
and come to find out, he actually did pay the ticket, and it was just they like messed up. Yeah,
Oh, that is horrible.
yeah,
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, great little story though. That is a great. It's gonna be a good story to tell like for the family one day.
oh yeah. I
Love
have
that.
pictures of him like in his cuffs, like in
my
the car.
goodness. I would be literally having. Me and Ty are the same in this, and also I didn't say this, but Ty is on his own mic per usual in his little room over there. So what's up, Ty?
What's up, fam?
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Just feeling the love. It's all good.
Oh my gosh, no. But Ty and I are similar in this manner that we like always want to have fun, and we'll get a little wild, but we don't want to actually get in trouble. We'll push our limits, but we don't want to get in trouble. So if I actually got in trouble, I would be super sad. Aside from the COVID stuff, that and tickets and all that good stuff, you did mention a quarter life crisis, which I told you I didn't know what that was, but really quickly, what kind of like contributed to that, and then how did you get out of that
Yeah,
place in your
so-
life?
It was like following a pretty brutal breakup, and like I didn't really know like what I was doing, and then I realized I didn't want to do what I was studying for the last 3 years. So it was just like kind of a rock bottom point of like what am I like what is going on.
Yeah.
And part of what kind of helped was I started journaling and kind of like taking time for myself in the mornings and just like really understanding what I need to do and figuring out like what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just took it like one day at a time and ended up like it was pretty impulsive to apply to grad school. Like I was just talking to my mom about it, and she's like, just go ahead and send
it.
just send like your applications out, see what happens. If they get back, like whatever, we'll figure it out. And it was just kind of, I didn't like have an opportunity to have like internship the summer before because of COVID, which kind of like stressed me out because all my friends were getting jobs, and it's like a creative major. It's a little bit more difficult. Like the interview process is a little harder, and like you have to have a portfolio, and it was just super stressful, and like I didn't like. I thought about like just changing majors completely because I mean they were getting jobs like that, like, and
But you stuck with it.
I stuck with it. I ended up actually getting an internship that summer, which was good. But yeah.
So journaling, and I know you talked a little bit about gratitude with me, so like getting a new perspective on life, and when you have a bunch of like question marks and you don't know what to do, it feels very overwhelming and stressful and dark and like not literally dark, but like just heavy, I feel like. But a great note for people is that a lot of us have had those moments where you really don't know what you're gonna do or how you're gonna build yourself up again. But like Cam said, just take it one day at a time. And one thing that you talked about last night when we were going over some ideas was that you rebranded yourself. So I'd love for you to share what that means, what that looks like, how that happened, and what you went from to like what you are now.
Yeah, so I guess what I've learned like over the years is, it sounds cliche, but like the top 5 people you spend the most time with is like who you are.
Yeah.
And I kind of like realized that because I was like a little frat boy, and it just wasn't like who I actually was. Like just the way I dressed and like, acted. And I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I want to do what I want to do. Like, it's way more fulfilling.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just looked at kind of the older guys that had gone through, and like they weren't where I wanted to be. Like I had bigger dreams or whatever. So yeah, I just kind of like really focused on myself, started reading a lot, and morning routine was really important, and just like really making sure, you know, every day take every day very seriously. But yeah, what else did I do?
What is your morning routine? What's like your peak morning routine?
Yeah, so
The
I got
best
really into it. I think the most important aspect is to do something physically, and then something
big
mentally.
workout guy. Huge.
Yeah, big workout guy.
Huge.
Mentally, and then something spiritually. So kind of 3 aspects, kind of have
That's
a
good.
balance before you get going. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
What's Bay say?
And it's my favorite one. And there's a concept called winning streaks. So basically you can build momentum in the morning, and it really starts the night before. So getting good sleep, that's a win. And then you wake up, maybe go for a run or break a sweat. That's another one. So you're building the momentum. Maybe you sit down and journal, or, you know, just write down, you know, whatever's going on. Sit with yourself, like pray, meditate, whatever. And then you have this momentum going, and you're like just ready to like attack the day and like really hit the hardest thing first. And you can kind of ride that out for the rest of the day, but the morning really like
And it does start
get
the
those
night
winning
before.
streaks going, you know.
Yeah, that's so true. As a guy, I feel like girls are a little bit better at like journaling and getting their thoughts down and being with themselves. But it's a weird concept for people to be alone. And that's something I had to learn too, that it's okay to be alone, and it's actually a really good thing. So if you're someone who struggles with the idea of like spending time with yourself, or if you can't answer the question like, who are you, what drives you, what excites you, what are you passionate about, I would encourage you to just literally sit down even today or tonight whenever you're listening to this, and just write out some questions and write out some things you like, and figure out who you are apart from anything that's projected onto you, or anything that maybe good or bad people have said about you. Like, really, what do you like to do? What are hobbies you like to do? Who are artists you like? What's your favorite food? Just figure out what you like about yourself, and figure out some things you want to do with your life. And I think it's really, really beneficial. I had myself a yes day the other day.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I saw couples doing it on TikTok where, like, if you're dating, you would say, okay, what do you want to do today? Anything you want to do, I'm going to say yes to, and we're just going to do it. And so I was like, that'd be so cool to do by yourself, and just give yourself that freedom of endless possibilities. So I literally woke up. Well, I slept in because it was my day. Slept in. That's my yes day. Slept in, and then I went to Starbucks. I had my quiet time. I journaled. I always do my affirmations, my gratitude. And then I went to get my favorite snacks from the grocery store. I bought myself flowers. I made a healthy meal. I went shopping. I got a new plant, a new tennis skirt, like just things that I wanted. And I didn't say no, like within reason. Don't be like insane, but within reason, I spent like a pretty good amount of money, and I don't really just splurge like that. So it was really special. And then I love to paint, and I went home and I painted, and it was just the best day ever. And it was crazy because that actual day was really fun and really fulfilling. But then the next day I felt as if I was so well rested, and it was so weird because I didn't actually rest the day before, but I just took care of me, and I prioritized me. So then the next day when I had to go work and do things, I was so like fulfilled with myself that I could go and offer my best to everyone else, if that makes sense. And you can't have yes days all the time, but the concept is that as you're fulfilling yourself and your passions and your dreams and your mental health and your spiritual health and physical health, then you can go out into the world and help other people achieve those goals. So help yourself, help others.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tool because a common theme's been like burnout in my life, because like, I mean, I try to push myself pretty hard.
Yeah.
And like, even on like TikTok, you're like, you always see like, you know, people doing things, and you're like, I should be doing these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you like, going back to the morning thing, if you do this every day, like you're gonna get burned out, and like that's okay. Just take a step back, take the yes day, you know, just relax. Like you don't have to do these things every day. It comes in waves. Yeah.
Yeah, I think switching it up too, though. Sometimes your morning routine might be more extensive and more, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday too, like seasonal. Some things are more seasonal. Sometimes you might need that like 2-hour morning routine, and that's what you need to get yourself, and that's the discipline you need right now. But then it might change to one week you're like, I only need 10 minutes to just get up and get going. So I think that it depends on the place you're at in life and how much time you need to put towards it. But I will say something I've been thinking a lot about recently is staying true to your commitment. So whether you have to write your commitments out or vocalize them or share them with an accountability partner, if your commitment is to work out or is to journal or is to read or to implement a morning routine, make sure that you're actually staying true and you're making like realistic goals, I guess. Achievable, reachable goals, and challenge yourself, but not to a place where you can't do it, because that's just like unfair. That's where burnout comes in, I think, personally. I think it's when you put these expectations that are just unrealistic and they don't work with your schedule and with your personality. You're like if I put my goals or your goals on myself, I wouldn't reach them and I would think that I'm not successful or I'm not doing right. But we have different things that we're valuing. So kind of figure out what works for you.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is definitely like consistency.
Yes.
Because if you have consistency with whatever goals you're going for, you kind of start to build the habit. So like it starts to feel weird when you like don't, when you don't like do things for these goals or whatever, if you do them every day.
Yeah.
So you kind of just get in a flow of, just consistent behavior, and then it becomes a little bit easier to do things that you might not necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like working out in the morning, like
now you feel weird if you don't?
Yeah, if I don't work out, it's like,
the
day is like weird. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
And go for a jog in the parking lot. That's good. Yeah, working out, journaling, reading your Bible, praying, meditating, drinking a glass of water, like something that just starts your day off well is great. The next little thing that we're going to talk about to kind of go into a new topic is taking the advantage of the opportunities. So I want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a few examples. So I guess basically over COVID, I had an interesting opportunity. My dad was selling his car to a coworker who was in Denver. Okay. And he was going to like ship this car to him. And I was like, no, don't do that. Like, I'll just drive it. Like, I've always wanted to drive across the country. And so that was just kind of like a cool opportunity. Like, he was going to pay me to drive it, like, all the way to Colorado.
How far is that in a car?
I don't know, but we did turn onto a road in Kansas and like looked at the Google map, and it was like in 500 miles, like turn right. And it was just like insane.
Oh my gosh.
And I had like a drone and some video equipment, and I brought my roommate who got arrested. And
shout out you.
We just like filmed this thing and just had like the best time and like stopped. This was like during COVID too, so like we didn't have a lot going on. And we stopped and saw like my buddy in Austin, and then went back up to Denver. And we filmed the whole thing, and I just kind of like posted it out there, and then didn't really think much of it. And then I get like a text from the Greenhouse Boys, and they're like, yo, we saw your video.
I
like,
know them.
They're like, do you want to come down and like shoot some videos for us? And I've never done that, but I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do like the best I can.
Yeah.
So I just drove down there, like not really knowing anything about like shooting. Like, so I kind of just did my thing and
how'd it go?
Took advantage of the opportunity. It went well. Like, it was good to see them. They were like killing it. Still talk to like Dylan and every once in a while. And then I kind of posted that video, and then someone else's like reached out to me about shooting for a company.
Oh.
So like the opportunity just started getting a little bit bigger and bigger. And ended up shooting like a documentary for this like company's like history.
Whoa.
Had no idea what I was doing, but like really what I've learned is like no one actually really knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So if you're confident and you're willing to try your best, you really can do anything.
Wow.
So
That's great. I think that's good too because you don't always, and Ty can probably attest to this, but you don't always necessarily, you and Ty would be, like I said, good friends. Y'all have very similar mindsets on a business stuff, but you don't have to have all the answers and everything so perfectly figured out. If you can just, if you have a drive and you have like a willingness to do well, I think that you can just figure it out as you go and believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, you're like setting yourself up for failure. So that's so good. The next thing that we're gonna talk about is creative stuff. So I literally put creative stuff because Cam has a lot to say about creativity, and even he's gonna share a little bit about his hat he has on that ties into the creativity, entrepreneurship, all that stuff. But I guess I can ask you a couple questions. Number one, what is your tip to someone who wants to start something and they only have like a dream or idea?
Yeah.
What would be your tips for them or advice?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, in my opinion, is everyone always has ideas, and they'll come to me with ideas. And the biggest step, like, the biggest thing you can do is just start doing, like, start testing, or like if you want to start a podcast, like, it seems like, you just get someone on, like, just start talking to people.
Yeah.
So just take action. That's the first thing. And then just, like, learning to love to fail. Because you can't really look at failure as something bad. It's just something that pivots you in the right direction. So that's what I've learned is I've had probably, like, 4 or 5, like, failed businesses throughout college.
How do you handle failure? Sub question. How did you handle it?
At first, so like I kind of learned, like, there's something called the design process that I learned in college, and you learn that failure is, like, good, and it causes iteration to, like, be better. So if you can
Iteration?
Yeah, sorry, is that a big word?
That is. What is that? That's the Georgia Tech speaking. What does that mean?
Iteration, like a new
It's like
version.
a spelling bee.
So, like, if
Iteration.
something doesn't work, figure out a new way to do it, because that's not the right way, but at least you're pointed in a different direction, so you know what not to do. Maybe you can focus on what to do instead.
Ooh. So take action. Failure
Yes.
is actually a good thing. It produces iteration.
Yes, and yeah, that's the biggest part. Don't be afraid of failure. And I think you really have to have the right intention. Like, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur because I thought, like I want to be rich, like everyone has those dreams, but it's really like the impact you have on people, and
Yeah.
that's not a big enough driver to make you successful. Like, you have to genuinely, like,
Care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's so good. Looking at the intent of why you even want to do something. And that will, if you can figure out your why, then that will help when burnout or things happen or failure in some capacity happens. If you can remember, like, why you started and what you're trying to accomplish, I think that it keeps you centered. Not like perfect on cloud 9, but just centered where you can always build from it. My dad texted me because he was like, these are questions you should ask him. And he said that he said success is a journey, not a destination. And I thought that was really good advice, because if you look at success as a place that you get, then it's like, one, when you get there, then what do? You're kind of like unfulfilled and you've just peaked, and that's it. Oh, well, you're done. Like, your life is over. And then he said that the difference between, which this is kind of what you talked about with failure, but between a good employee and a great employee is a good employee tells you what the problem is. A great employee tells you what the problem was. And I think that's a good, like, leadership tip, is that don't be somebody. And if you're ever going to bring a problem, like if you're doing a business and you have a partner, if you're going to bring a problem to your partner, bring it with a solution or a different avenue to take. Don't just be somebody who's constantly pointing out what's wrong without actually being, like, helpful at all. But in the scheme of, like, creativity and failure and starting things and entrepreneurship, I think that there's so much to learn. And Cam is 23. Are you 23?
Yeah. Jordan here.
Jordan here. When's your birthday?
September 3rd.
December 4th. You're a little bit older than me. But Cam is a prime example as 23 that you can start stuff. And I do want you to share your I don't want to say it wrong because you said I said it wrong.
No, you can say it.
No, how do you say it?
It's a French saying. So how you say is carte blanche.
Carte blanche.
With a sh.
I
Yeah.
said carte blanche. I thought it was Spanish. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah. So this is a part of like my why. So I've always done like a lot of freelance work throughout college, and that's another just opportunity I took. Started working with kind of these two guys who had kind of pretty successful e-commerce businesses, and I did a lot of their graphics, and they weren't like fun to make, but I was just like, all right, I'll just help them out, whatever.
Yeah.
Later down the road, they kind of reached out to me with, they're like, we want to do like a brand. And I was like, all right. Like, at first they just hired me to do the logo. And then like I spent a lot of time on it. And like I've always, wanted to have an apparel brand. I started with Traveler, so it's like coming and circling back.
Yeah. Traveler. This video is sponsored by.
But yeah, so we started this thing, and they kind of came to me with this saying, carte blanche, which is a French saying, which it translates directly to blank check. So if I give you carte blanche, it's like I'm giving you a blank check. So pretty much you can do anything you want. So it's like a saying, like you have like complete authority or like power to do what you want. So I was like, wow, that's like a pretty powerful message.
Yeah.
Let's kind of run with this. And I was like, I ended up spending a lot of time on it, and I was like, please let me get in on this. Like this is dope. And yeah, we just kind of, started ideating. Like I've never put so much like effort and like thought into like what we're about to release.
And when's the release date for the people?
It's tentative right now, but I think August 16th.
Okay.
But yeah, we looked at like we haven't rushed it at all. We were gonna release it like just the hats like months ago, but we're like, we're gonna take every detail very seriously, really like key in on our message.
Yeah.
And it's just like really inspiring people to like be great and like take full control of their lives. And it's a lifestyle brand. Like we don't want to be super cliche, but it's kind of like old money style. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first kind of theme we're going for is like clocking in. So it's like clocking into the present moment and like really taking advantage of like what's going on now, because that's really all you can control. And then we're also like clocking into the brand. So
Wow.
I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I'm super excited. It's kind of...
So he doesn't just talk about entrepreneurship. He's literally in the middle of pioneering it and figuring it out and putting your efforts into it. That's so cool. With this podcast, like I told you last night, it was something that I literally kind of had a dream about. Thought, okay, this would be cool, but I don't know how to make it happen. And then I prayed and was saying that, God, if you want this to happen, then kind of line up some opportunities and some open doors. And then out of nowhere, stuff just started falling in my lap, and then it all fell together and has blended to this podcast. And so I understand the power of opportunities, and I think that
taking
there's
action,
doing something about it. One of my favorite quotes is from Bob Goff, and I've said it before on this podcast, but no one remembers you for what you almost did. And that's kind of a deep saying, but it's so true that you could have all these great ideas and want to do these amazing things, but if you don't have to even accomplish all of them, but you at least want to like scratch the surface and in some way, shape, or form get a little bit closer to your dream than you are right now. But I think something that's cool is that you are really, I guess, like an example of living in the now, but you also talked about how you're living for the now, but you do know that there's a moment coming, like the next, it's inevitable that time is ever changing, like always going on. So how do you kind of live in the now, but plan for your future in the same realm, I guess?
Yeah, so I read a book recently called The Power of Now.
He reads, guys.
But no, I learned a lot, and it's kind of crazy. Like you spend most of your time thinking maybe of stuff in the past, stuff in the future that you really can't control. And if you think on a timeline, like the present moment, like right now, is like such a fine like blade like on your timeline in life.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that people really don't realize that, and like you can only really control what's going on right now. So taking full advantage of what you can control is very important.
Yeah.
And I like to kind of think of it like, I want to like look back and be like to my like previous or like my future self and like kind of befriend, like, thank God, like he, thank goodness, sorry.
No, thank God.
Thank goodness he like did this, like it's starting to pay off. Like an example, like when I was applying internships, like I knew that, I just spent a lot of my time like really preparing, and like I spent weeks on my portfolio, like applying probably like 50 places. But like that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. I took full advantage of, to the best of my ability, like what I had, and I kind of like had stuff written on my mirror. I'm like, I'm gonna get this internship. Like,
Yeah. Spoke it into existence. And
exactly.
Believed it for yourself.
Yeah. So I ended up applying, like got a pretty cool internship, and it's just like proof that, if you really focus on something and think about it every day, then you can like attract it into your life. And it's all starts with like the present moment and like what you can do now.
Yeah, that's so good. I think that's great that I'm all about the word balance, but there is a balance to reflecting on the past in good and negative aspects and figuring out kind of why you are the way that you are, but then being present now and then also being excited and expectant for the future. That way you're constantly evolving and changing in some degree. Sometimes it'll be bigger changes and smaller, but you're just getting better, and hyping yourself up even is a good thing. But I do think that it would be like silly for me not to ask you, but what would your advice be for someone who maybe, like, I don't know, maybe they're just scared or intimidated about, they feel this, I guess, like urge to do something great or to be something great, but they're just scared. Like, I know you gave us the steps on like how to realistically business mind do it, but if someone's just straight up like petrified of what people think or XYZ, what would be your advice for that person?
Yeah, so kind of going back to what I said about like no one actually knows what's going on. Like throughout my internship, they've gotten us to talk to a lot of the executive roles, like the big up people, and like they're like intimidating or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you kind of start talking to them, and like they really like have no idea what's going on. Like we have this beautiful like app and product, but in the background, like everyone's running with their head cut off. Like you never really know like what's actually going on. So just kind of take that with a grain of salt, and like just be very confident and attentive in like what you want to do. I think that's really important. What was the question again?
Just like if someone's scared or maybe like overwhelmed with the thought, but they know they're supposed to be great or do something great.
Another thing is, if someone, I hate like when someone tries something and they kind of like get like, if someone like kind of is mean to them about it, because at least they're like trying,
Yeah.
But if someone's acting like that, then they probably shouldn't be in your life anyways. And just let them do that, and it'll point you to the direction of the people that you should be around, supporting you.
Would you say that your friends and even family have closely affected or impacted the, I guess, drive that you have, so that you can feel and know that, I had good people around me and it has helped launch me into this person?
Yeah, well, I guess at Auburn, honestly, like there were some people that I was like intimidated of, like, because like being creative is just kind of like, I don't know, like I'm not a business or a finance bro.
Yeah.
Like, so I was kind of intimidated to kind of like really like put myself out there and like, create and whatever. So I kind of limited myself in college, but getting out of there, you kind of realize who your real friends are. And if they're not supporting you, then, like, why are they in your life?
Yeah, that's so good.
So, I think that's the biggest thing. If someone, like, isn't, like, all in on, like, what you're doing, then, like, they probably aren't good for you anyways.
Yeah, I think your people should be bought into what you're doing. And even if they don't fully understand it, unless it's, like, harming you and is horrible for you, they don't have to fully understand it, but they can still accept it. The way I want to we're in our last little portion of it. We've been a little bit all over the place, but there's some good advice in there. I want to ask you some speed questions. So, like, the first thing that comes to your head when I ask you this, and we didn't practice these, so it's going to be, like, real reaction. But at what age did you know or realize that you wanted to, like, work for yourself? And what contributed to that?
Probably 14. Yeah. I don't, some people might know Tyler Blaylock. Me and him kind of had the same idea from the beginning in high school. And that's when we kind of both felt our love for entrepreneurship. He's still doing his own thing with like the gym stuff and like he's doing great. And like I kind of realized, working in a corporate environment that it, like just playing like a role every day, like 9 to 5, like really isn't what I want to do. It's not really fulfilling, to me.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to like directly make an impact on people versus just playing a role in like a corporate company. 'Cause that's, just more like fulfilling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of when I, realized like,
Wow,
I'm
young.
be my own boss.
How do you balance, I guess, business, entrepreneurship, and then the relationships in your life?
Yeah, so I think it's very difficult, especially if you're super busy. But going back to that burnout thing, I think if you're like working a lot and really hard, if you feel burned out, like really taking a step back and walking away from your work and going, to do something else or your hobbies, or like I've really gotten into running recently.
I wish
it
I
just
got
kind
into
of all you have to do is run for like 2 weeks, and I swear like it's really not that bad. And yeah, just the balance is so important, and like just clearing your head and like being able to like I don't know, like what was the question again?
Yeah, sorry, I threw you off whenever
You're
I
good.
figured out that I have to, last night I would ask him something and then he'd be looking for something and then he'd forget what I said.
Yeah.
So I have to lock it. But if I asked you, how do you balance, I was like, I don't even remember. I asked you how to balance the relationships in your life and your job.
Yeah, so back to the routine thing, like making sure you're doing like every aspect from like exercise to being, with yourself every day. I think that's very important. And then being with yourself spiritually, and then, really saving time for your friends, like at least a couple times a week.
Yeah.
It just kind of helps, feel
I think it energizes you
balanced.
even. You don't have to take a nap to get rest. You can be with people and not have to put on a mask and just like be genuine and be authentic. Then that is a kind of rest, to me at least.
Yeah.
Just being myself.
And like going a little bit onto that, like kind of like my best ideas actually come when I'm not really trying to focus on them. So if you're working on something, like it's gonna like get in your like subconscious mind, and like 90% of your brain like is subconsciously thinking. So when you start to do other things, like you'll just get like thoughts like in the back of your head, and you're like, oh wow, like that's a new way to think about that problem. So I think like doing the other stuff actually helps kind of every area of your life.
That's so true. When you can't figure out something, if you detach from it for a minute and do something else and put your energy and your efforts towards something else, and normally you'll think about whatever and you'll get a solution for that. And then what are certain things that you do at night? Do you have like a nighttime routine, or is your night kind of just whatever, and your mornings you're go-getter?
I'm so bad about it. I don't know. I've been on I'm on like the self-help TikTok. Like,
oh my gosh.
And I always see like you should like get off of your phone and like
as you're on your phone watching
on like a mindless scroll like at like 11 p.m. But no, I probably should do a lot. I've been like really, because like I'll work until like 10, like because doing like 3 or whatever companies and the internship. It's just like it's a lot to get done. But like if I'm like tired, like just go to bed. Like it's not your best work, so just don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know too.
Yeah,
like even just learning when to kind of shut off and get sleep, because you're not your best when you're not rested,
and it's just not worth like the hassle and the stress.
Yeah, my nighttime routine is to wash my face, do a little skincare because it just makes you feel good about yourself, and your skin's important. And then I get in my bed and I write down things that went well that day. And so it's basically the structures, things that went well and something I want to improve on. So I end my day with more positive than negative, but I'm still acknowledging both. And then I do a devotional. And then I go to bed. And it's a pretty good... And when I go to bed, it sounds weird, but I start saying out loud, tomorrow's going to be a great day. I'm going to wake up and feel energized. And before I even have gone to sleep, I'm already speaking to tomorrow and, like, envisioning that tomorrow's going to be a good day. And then I wake up with a better attitude. So that's mine. But sometimes it gets rushed and I just go to bed. But you talked about this a little bit, but how do you measure your success? It's a good question, isn't it?
That one stumped me. I don't know. I think really being grateful for what you have is very important, and like realizing you're in your life situation because of stuff you've done in the past, and to really, don't take that for granted and realize like you've worked really hard to get here. Maybe it's not where you want to be, but you're here for a reason, and like what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess.
There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
For me, I would say I measure success by the way that I get fulfilled, or the way that I feel good about myself, is knowing that I helped someone else. So if I'm reproducing what I'm first producing, that's how I measure success. So I'm trying to produce good qualities in myself and then reproduce those through other people, through conversations, through a post on Instagram, through leadership, whatever the means necessary. So I kind of measure success by what am I reproducing that I'm first producing, because I don't want to ask people to do stuff that I'm not doing. And that's a big thing for me, is like always practicing what you preach. So that's a big way I measure success. And then also, like, am I genuinely happy? Like, when I lay down at night, am I proud of the person I am and the decisions I've made? And not perfect, because we're never going to be perfect, but am I growing is a huge way I determine success in my life. Is there areas in my life that are growing and are getting better because of XYZ?
Yeah. I guess I'd focus on like 3 short-term goals at a time. And I guess hitting those like milestones is kind of how I measure. Like, once I take whatever off the mirror, like that's
You put them on your mirror?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yep.
That's
Gotta
sweet.
see them every day.
That's sweet. So when do you do these goals? How often? Like, do you rewrite or read?
I try to do like every 3 months.
You do 3 short-term, 3 long-term?
So I say, this is going to happen on this date 3 months ahead.
Oh.
Like, this will happen, right?
Period.
Like, you got to speak it into existence. And then it's like ceremonial to rip it off the mirror and then
throw it away. That was me. I had, it's not really in the goal mindset, but it was in a this might be actually really helpful to somebody. When I was trying to, like Cam, my testimony, which I'm going to share like a deeper version of my testimony on one of these, but I had to like lose myself to find myself type of deal. And whenever I did that, I really didn't even know like what I liked. I felt like I had a perception of myself that wasn't completely accurate. So I literally started a list of things I just enjoy. And it's like it's so funny. I want to read some of them. Oh, Lord. I just started keeping it in my phone, and I would highly, highly suggest, it says Bailey. I don't know where the camera, Bailey. And then it literally is Jesus, family, blue and yellow, handwritten notes, sunsets, pandas, baby Groot, bubble baths, new girl, lights, flowers, blah, blah, blah. And it literally goes on and on and on and on and on. And every time I see something that I like, or something that sparks a positive emotion in me, or that I remember, like one of these literally says the word lovely. I just like that word. So it's like the smallest thing to the biggest things, but I really wanted to figure out, what do I like? If it was up to Bailey, what would my ideal life look like? What would my world look like? So that's something that I did, and it really helped me kind of figure out. And then I also, I took qualities that I want in my life, and then where I'm at, And my goal was to move the ones from that I want to where I am. And I did that on my mirror with the dry erase marker. And it was so cool, like taking, like erasing it and then putting it on here. So one of those I'm still working on is financially good and knowledgeable. That's still on the want that list, but I'm working on it. But yeah, so that's anything like that where you can physically move, even if it's in a journal or a whiteboard or your mirror. That kind of stuff is so beneficial. And then I have one more question and then the final question. It's actually two, sorry. What are your words? Oh, nope, just kidding. What is your mission statement that you live by? Like your personal or a
My personal mission statement?
Yeah, like for yourself. What's your mission statement?
I guess right now I'm really focused on like really being present. So I guess living in the now and taking full advantage of what you can, and not really worrying about anything else, because why? You know, like it's wasted thought.
Oh, very good. And then the final question is, what would you tell 16-year-old Cam Holmes? If you could go back and stop yourself and tell yourself something, what would you say?
That everything's going to work out just fine. You know, things come in waves. With highs, there's lows, and lows, there's highs. Just keep grinding, and you're going to be proud of where you are when you're 23.
That is sweet. I feel like that's like warming. Listeners, it's not warming your heart. You're only going up. You're only going to increase.
I know. What about 28? We'll see.
Yeah. Cam is like very humble in this podcast, but he is literally very, very, very smart. I said, because we didn't really know each other super duper well, when we first sat down, I was like, what is your perception of me? Because I actually don't know, like, how you view me and how I view you. And I was like, I just view you as very intelligent and a businessy person. And he was like, what? Like, and then I did ask him, this is funny, I will share. I was like, I honestly don't know, and it's okay if you're not. But I said, are you a Christian? It's cool if you're not, or cool if you are, or do you practice anything else weird that I should know about? And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, cool. But that's how much we didn't know about each other. But yeah, I just think that you are, the reason I wanted to have you on, and listeners, you can know this too, is Cam is really, anything he's talked about, he's doing himself, and I respect people who stay true to their commitments and stay true to their, and just have a drive for life and really care about who they are and where they're going. I think a lot of young people, especially our age, like I said, they don't really sit with themselves, and they don't genuinely like themselves. They just want to be liked by everyone else, so they're putting on these different hats to, I guess, appeal to XYZ person, but they're not actually, maybe they're fulfilled through like,
it's the ego. The ego is scary.
Yeah, or they're like so dependent upon a relationship or a job that they like lose themselves to it, which I mean, I've been there before where I put like everything I was into something and then you lose that thing and you lose yourself. So my goal is now to like, no one ever, my worth never comes from another person. My worth comes from God, first of all, but then like my productivity and my self-esteem is like dependent upon me. And if I'm feeding my life with good things and I'm practicing good habits, then my self-esteem is going to be high and my confidence is going to be high. But if I'm not really caring about it, then when tough, like life gets tough, I'm not going to have anything to kind of go back to. So it's like you're expecting the best, but you're preparing for the worst a little bit. But I do think that our generation in general has like such a hard time being authentic. So I respect people who, because I try to be like, I literally share everything on this podcast. Yeah. So I try to be very vulnerable in order for it to help someone else. And I feel like vulnerability sparks vulnerability. So maybe now someone else could share with somebody. But
getting uncomfortable, it's huge.
Yeah.
For growth.
Make yourself a little, I mean, every time I do the podcast, I'm a little uncomfy at first. I'm always like, ugh, I don't know. But yeah, just chase your dreams, guys, for real. I always end cheesy because I just get excited about life and excited about what people are doing. But Cam, any final thoughts, anything you want to say?
Thanks for bringing me on. You're inspiring yourself, and I really respect how much you genuinely care about people and support them. And I think what you're doing here is super special, and you should keep it up. But yeah, so winning streaks.
Winning streaks, and chase your dreams and seize the opportunity and the power of now. But he said a lot of good things, and we had a lot of good conversations. I hope that you guys were listening in and that you were inspired in one way or another. And I hope that this will reach the right people. So share it with a friend. But Cam, thank you so much.
Of course.
You were awesome.
Thanks for having me.
I am thankful for our conversation. But guys, that is the end of this episode. Make sure you're following. I'm going to be better about social media. Make sure you're following me on @What'sBaySay. If you have any questions or anything we talked about, you want to know more about, you can contact me. You can contact Cam. We'd love to talk with you. And besides that, I hope that y'all have a great day. Do something to better yourself. Have a yes day. Somebody have a yes day and let me know about it. And then, as always, remember to look for the good in things, and if there's no good, to become the good in that thing. Bye.
We're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today.
That's right.